Hello, everybody. Thank you for joining us today. We are super excited to share with you a brand new MongoDB Twitch series, and that is this game dev series. So my colleagues, Nick and in spirit right now, Karen, we want to build a game using Unity and MongoDB. And we have some little bit experience, but really we're starting from scratch, and we thought we would stream our entire process of building this entire game with you. Do you want to talk a little bit about what that game is, Nick, and how we came about choosing what we're going to try to build?
Absolutely. So the idea behind this project is that we build a tribute game to Fall Guys Ultimate Knockout. So keep the same kind of concepts, but definitely not try to compete with it. So our idea is to create a 2D version of that game that demonstrates, like Adrienne said, not only our ability to use Unity 3D, but also what goes into actually creating an online multiplayer game. So the database component as well as the backend component.
Sweet. So if you join us on our streams every Wednesday, you'll see that we actually spent our kickoff stream building out this kind of brainstorm jam board of what we think we will need when we are building this kind of game. So we're going to do a very quick recap of what we came up with so far and talk to you about all the different parts that we think we will need. So without further ado, let's start out with the first thing that we came up with was race levels. So if you've played Fall Guys before, you'll know that there are different kinds of levels in the game. The race levels in particular are levels where you compete with each other in your matchmaking game. So there's about 60 of you in a session, and there's all of these ridiculous kinds of maps. And in the race level, it's just kind of you're all against each other and try to finish first. It's a race level. So we thought it would be achievable to try to recreate two of the levels that we really like. One really big thing to remember here is that because this is a tribute game and because Fall Guys is already amazing in 3D, we are actually going to do this in 2D. Not only because, again, 3D has been perfected by Fall Guys already, but also we're trying to make it much easier on ourselves to try to recreate this. So with that said, we kept that in mind, and there are just a couple levels that look or are much more achievable in 2D rather than 3D. And so the first level that we are going to try to recreate is the Doordash level. You want to talk a little bit about that, Nick?
Yeah, so we'll quickly brush over these, but the Doordash level, the concept behind it is you are racing to the finish line and you have to jump through either a real door or a fake door. You won't know which one is real or which one is fake, so it's a game of chance. But the idea is that, of course, not everyone will be lucky enough to jump through a real door.
Yes, and so we felt this one was, I would say, the easiest level, not only to recreate in 2D, but also the easiest to learn Unity with, as there's not too many moving parts in general. So the next race level we're going to do is Tiptoe. So I like Nick's analogy of this is if you've ever seen Indiana Jones, where there's some fake tiles and obviously a real tile. That's kind of the same purpose of this level. There's a bunch of tiles and you have to find the correct path. If you step on one that is a fake tile, you fall into the abyss. But if you step onto one of the actual path tiles that lead you to the finish line, in the Fall Guys at least, it lights up letting you know that it is a real tile. And you kind of just have to hope that you are stepping on the right ones and continue to find the right path to the finish line. So those are our race levels. Now there are also levels that are team levels, and just as the name implies, you kind of have to work together with a couple more people to achieve some goal. So because this has way more moving parts and a lot more complexity because you're dealing with multiple players now, we thought it would be best to just try to recreate at least one team level. And so these are a couple of the levels that we thought could be possible for our version of the game.
So outside of the actual gaming component, so the levels, we have to think about the backend component and the database component. So what goes into the other pieces that you might not necessarily see up front and center. So for example, we have to worry about, well, where's all of the data going to be stored for each one of our players? So a user profile store. So that might contain how many wins you've had, how many falls you've taken, what's your experience level. Anything and everything about the player will be stored in a player document. Then maybe you want to take a look at where you rank in comparison to other players. So using a leaderboard type functionality, you might be able to run aggregation type queries to look at your metrics versus other people's metrics, and so much more.
So a big part of Fall Guys is also the fact that it's super cute and it's just very engaging. And so obviously assets are going to be a very, very big part of this game. So that goes with costumes, music, maybe even getting some past Twitch streamers and guests to maybe create an original soundtrack for us, characters, level design, sound effects, and then a really great suggestion from one of our Twitch chat people who are following in the stream is themes and linked costumes or music. So those are all really cool things we're looking forward to learning not only Unity but to just incorporating in our game. And then the next part is, because this is a battle royale style game and because the whole fun of it is playing against each other, we will have to implement some sort of matchmaking in our game. That's to get us into the sessions, and that's to get us into the same levels and playing against these other people. So as a start, we said maybe we'll try to get at least 10 people to a game, and we'll see how that goes. And naturally, to get that multiplayer functionality, for now, we're probably going to think about implementing sockets to help us achieve this multiplayer functionality. But that could change as we iterate through this game and we continue to build it out. Aside from all of that, we started to delve into really awesome conversation with our Twitch stream chatters, and they gave a lot of really cool suggestions that we would like to either implement in our game or things that we should implement and didn't actually think of initially. So to start, authentication is going to be something we want to do. We want to have our users authenticate in some fashion, and we figured that we'd probably be able to use Realm for that. Next is a suggestion from our Twitch stream from Parastedia, I hope that's pronounced correctly, and they brought up a suggestion to do localization. So that's great. Not everybody speaks English, and everybody should have the ability to play in their language. And that's something we will definitely look into, as collations in MongoDB might be able to support that. Now, as we collect our data and as we get more and more players going on there, there's going to be a lot of data that is stored. So much of it that not all of it is necessarily going to be needed in current gameplay. So we were thinking of getting all of that historical data and offloading it via Atlas Data Lake and having the data be stored in cold storage, just because we won't need it during the current play of the games. And Nick will talk about some of the player abilities.
Yeah, so to make the game interesting, it probably makes some sense to have some kind of special player abilities. So we know that at a basic level, we're going to need to be able to run, jump, and possibly dive. But what if we wanted to add another component to this game? So as suggested in the actual stream that we did for this particular subject, it was suggested that maybe we have like a Mario Kart or Crash Team Racing style consumable item that players can get somewhere in the level to use against other players. So maybe throw a banana or a bomb or anything to disrupt the other players in the game to give you a better chance of winning. In addition to player abilities, one game component that we would need, and this isn't necessarily part of the game itself, but more from an operations perspective, is, you know what, we might want an administrative portal, somewhere that we can actually look at the analytics behind our game, see where our players are playing from, what are peak usage hours, that way we can do server maintenance during the off hours, just various information that might help us as developers to further scale this game.
Sweet. And so, as Nick mentioned, And as we saw in the stream, our Twitch chat was super engaged, and it was really great because, as you can see, most of the cool things column here are suggestions from our Twitch chat. So as another one from Intruder, who also gave us the idea for superpowers, was something like a photo finish. So possibly different angles of where we may have fallen during the game, or a slow-mo or replay. And that is totally something we would love to try to implement and can possibly do with the help of GridFS, which is supported in MongoDB. Next is another suggestion from Parasidia, and that is a level designer. So that was something that's probably going to be out of scope for our game, but if we end up being able to do it, that'd be cool. And this is coming along the lines of a Super Mario Maker style, where people can create their own levels while playing this game. Another great suggestion from Intruder is to have random teams or friends. So the ability to create your own groups and have your own parties so you can play with each other. And finally, this was another great suggestion from, not from Intruder, but actually from Evely, which is, as we spoke about a specific thing called time to live indexes on a stream, he thought that they could be used for consecutive login rewards, which is a great way to get your players engaged and wanting to come back and play the game more, because they can use or they can earn more rewards the more that they log in and play. And we could do that with the time to live indexes in MongoDB. And finally, Nick will talk about the last two things that sometimes we often overlook or forget, but are still important.
Yeah, absolutely. So one component of a lot of online games is the interaction with other players, whether that be a voice chat or a text chat. So we were thinking maybe along the ways we create a text chat component within the game, and we also add, say for example, Atlas search to it, so that way we can do searches and maybe even filter out abuse within the game. So people who are using foul language or things that violate our certain thresholds that we set in place, which could be a huge kind of benefit to the game itself.
Sweet. And so that is, in a very quick nutshell, what we have been able to brainstorm out from our kickoff stream. So this is going to go over the span of many Wednesdays, many streams, and we don't promise that we're going to have a fully working game in a month. That's impossible, but we are super excited to show you this process, this journey, and to show you our learning pain points as well as really awesome wins when we do implement some of these things. So we invite you to join us every Wednesday at 10:30 a.m. Pacific time, 1:30 p.m. Eastern time, and 5:30 p.m. UTC time, right on the MongoDB Twitch channel. Be sure to give us a follow so that you'll never miss a stream and you can see the whole process of this game.